All right, in this video, I wanted to discuss a couple things. First, when you open up a project and you're going to start a brand new project, the first thing you need to do is first just close the project. And if you click close project, it takes you to this screen here that allows you to clone a repository and create a new project. With that being said, I talked to a student today and I'm going to make a video on how to help them with their project. So this is what I see when I get into, when you give me your repository, okay? I'm going to go in, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy their GitHub repository, okay? And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to clone the repository. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to paste it in there. And then in this directory here, I'm going to, usually I change this file here. So if this was my loan amortization example, I can come down here and start a new project and just tell it like what I want the name of the new project to be. And that's going to go in here, right? So I'm helping Enzo today. So I'm going to say this is Enzo module 4. Okay. And I think this is his demo project. So we'll just go with that. And I'm going to go ahead and say clone. And it's going to go ahead and clone the whole project. Okay. And I'm going to tell it to trust the project. All right. And then it's going to come in here and it's going to start up the project. And right off the bat, we see a couple things. First, we see that there's no interpreter. Okay. And we come over here and we look and we see we have the files that we need. Okay. And all the files look like they're in the right spot. So what I'm looking for files in the right spot is I'm looking for the 3 files here, the app, the proc file, and the requirements document. And this proc file, I'm making sure that it says just like this, web guncorn app. That's perfect. Okay. And then in the app.py, I'm also looking at it to make sure it's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. And now I'm starting to get the no interpreter found. So what I'm going to do for that is I'm going to come down, I'm going to click on no interpreter, and I'm going to say add new interpreter, add local interpreter. Okay. Now remember, this first text box here is where are we going to put our folder for our virtual environment. Okay. So we want to make sure that it's in the Enzo mod 4 demo folder, that it's a new environment, and that it says venv. Now remember, if there's a little dot in front of this venv, that's going to make this folder hidden. Okay. In most operating systems, a dot in front of the file makes it a hidden folder. Okay. Anyway, so we're going to keep our base interpreter, which is fine, and we're going to click OK. It's going to come in and create the virtual environment. Okay. And you'll notice down here, it's going to start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Okay. Right off the bat, I'm going to close the external libraries. Okay. And then in here, if I open up app again, it's going to still say it's missing all of the package requirements. Okay. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to open up the terminal. Okay. And I know that I'm inside the virtual environment because it says right here venv, which is the name of the virtual environment folder. Okay. And I'm going to just tell it, I'm going to say pip install -r requirements. Okay. Now for some people at this point, before I finish typing the whole thing, I just hit tab. And when I hit tab, it autofills the name of this file. So this is the file here. Okay. And pip install -r. And then I type in REQ, so I'll do that again and I'll show you. I don't do all the little dot stuff, right? I just do REQ and I hit tab. And it finishes it how it's supposed to be. So what that means is it knows the name of the requirements document, okay? It needs to be, and if I spell it wrong and all that, it'll throw an error. So if I hit tab, first off, it's easier than typing the whole thing out, and it knows where it is, okay? So I'm going to hit enter, and it's going to just read that file and install all the packages in that file. Now, how did these packages get into this file? That's the question. So how did this get developed in the first place? Remember way back in like module 1, we did a pip freeze. Okay. So I'm going to open up requirements and I'm going to do a pip. Okay. Pip freeze. And then I'm going to tell it where to put it. So send it to requirements. Now, again, if I hit the tab, it's going to auto fill in and I'm not going to spell it wrong and have 2 files here. So pip freeze requirements. Okay. Hit enter. Now, nothing changed in this document because it has already been pip freezed. Pip froze. I'm going to close that document and I'm going to delete this document. Okay. Oh, it's gone. Okay. Not a big deal. Up arrow, pip freeze, my document's back. Okay. My document's back. Now, remember, if you have a document that's red, this document is required by Heroku. This is how Heroku knows what to install in its environment. So you have to have this document. Okay. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to go down to Git and I'm going to add it. And when I add it, it's going to turn green. Well, this one won't because it's already, it's the identical file that was already there. Okay. So if I go and look at my changes, there was no changes made to that document. All right. Now at this point, I shouldn't have an error. So I'm going to open it up, all the errors and everything's been installed correctly. So we're good. Okay. All right. So now let's take a look and see what the error message is for this file, right? So I'm going to just run the document because I've not actually seen what is going on here. Python app.py, and I'm going to open it up and I'm going to come over here and look. All right. So the first error message I get is this build error. We could not build the URL for contact. Okay. So it's telling us we have a problem and it's probably going to be inside the base file. Okay. Because that's where he most likely has it. Okay. So we can come down here and it will probably tell us that it's in some sort of base file. Okay. So let's just go ahead and take a look. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to open up base. And when I come into base, let's make this a little bit bigger. Down here for contact, it says the URL for contact. Okay. Does not know where the URL for contact is. Well, let's go and look at it. So that should be in routes. So I come over here and I look at routes. Okay. And if we look at our routes, there's 5 of them. There's not a route for contacts. So that's throwing the error. Okay. So it's saying we don't have an endpoint, a URL for contact. To fix that, I'm going to copy that down, call it contacts, and it actually knows, and call this one contact. And let's just see if he has, and right there is contact. So we're going to say contact. All right. So that error should be fixed. So I'm going to come back down here and I'm going to click that link again. So I'm just going to, if I hit Control C, it stops running. I'm going to run it again and I'm going to click that link. And now when I go to it, it is working. Okay. So I can go to About, Contact, Portfolio, Services, and it is working. Okay. So that is how I would start a brand new application. And that's how I would troubleshoot this application. Okay. Now, when I'm grading this, I'm going to be looking for a couple things. First, does he have the runners? Does he have blueprints? So in general, you need to have this blueprints folder. Starting in module 3, we're using blueprints. Okay. Blueprints is just a way to organize the code better. Okay. So in our blueprints, there's nothing that goes in this init file. Okay. So there's nothing in there. I'm going to close that. Let's see. I'm kind of like right in the middle of this. All right. We'll just close this one, then close this one. All right. And then the runners blueprint. Okay. Now I've talked about this a couple times, but this runners blueprint, that's the name of the blueprint here is runners. It needs to be the same here. And we don't add anything after the name here. So I like it to be just like this. This is all you need for it to identify the blueprint. This runners is the same what you're going to call every one of your routes. So this is runners all the way down for all 3 routes. Okay. Then we identify here is runner. Okay. And usually in this first route, we're going to do an add. So our insert statement, and we're going to do our view, our read. Okay. And we're going to send all the runners that are currently there out. Okay. Then we're going to do an update runner. And whatever this says needs to be the same as what we've called our definition for our whole thing. Okay. And if we pass a variable in here, we need to also pass that same variable in here. Again, ChatGPT, GitHub Copilot, they all know how to do this code and error check this code. But I'm just kind of telling if as you're looking for things, that's what you should look for. And then also here for delete runner, it needs to be delete runner here also. Okay. And then at this point, we can also look at base. Okay. He's got a great base file. And then we can look at each one of these files should extend base. So if I go to about, it extends the base. Okay. If I go to contact, extends the base. Index. This is perfect. Everything has extended the base. Okay. So that's also what I would look at. So this one here is for module 4. He needs to have CRUD working. So that means I need to be able to go to this runners and see that it works. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to hit Control C to stop it. I'm going to run it again, and I'm going to look and see if the runner's CRUD works. Okay. So when I come into his example, I come over here and look, and I'm not even seeing runners on this list. So if I go / at the end of the 5,000 runner, now it will take me into runner, but he's missing it here. How am I supposed to get to it? Okay. So I can test to see if the update works. So I can click update, add an S, click update. That worked. I can click delete, click OK. That worked. I can click add. That worked. So his CRUD is working perfect. He's just missing it up here in this nav bar. So how do we add that? We go back to our base. We come down and very simply copy that, paste it here, and we want to add runner here, and we want to add runner here. Now watch the error message we're going to get. Okay, so I'm going to come back down here, and I'm going to stop it, and I'm going to run it again locally. And when I click this, we're going to immediately get an error message. I cannot get the endpoint for runner. Okay, did you want runners? Okay, so let's close that and look. So all of these are coming out of the route. Okay, but where is this one coming from? This one is coming from this runner's blueprint. Okay, so remember when we put our URL 4 in, we first start with our blueprint, then our route. So we just have to add our blueprint first, then dot, then route. Okay, so if what I really like to do is keep this blueprint, the name of this blueprint, runners, I like to have it as the same name as the file. Okay, then we don't have to worry about, is it the file or is it the blueprint or is it all this other stuff? Instead, I just like to say this is the same name as this, which is the same name as this, which is the same name all the way down. And then each one of these definitions has the same name here and here. And I usually put the first one is just the singular, the next one is update, and the next one is delete. Now, this is just a very simplified framework that makes things very easy to help troubleshoot and to help work on. It gets a little bit more complex as your applications get more complex. All right, let's take a look and see if that fixed it. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to Control C to stop it. I'm going to run it again. I'm going to open it up. And here is our app. I can go click on runner and it is there. Okay. So that fixed his application for CRUD demo. And that's all I look at when I go to grade. I just look and see if the application works. Okay. Now, one thing to think about is this DB Connect. This information, most of the time is my information. Okay. For the one practice one that I have, make sure you add your own database here because I will be checking for that. On every application, you should have your own database. All right. With that, hope you guys have a great day. Let me know if you have any more questions.